Let's get ready to rumble!
It's 2001 and Madison Square Garden is the spot to be. You've got the world welterweight champion, Sugar Shane Mosley, unbeaten, untouchable, and arguably the pound-for-pound king, while he's facing off against the quiet, unassuming Vernon Forrest. The Atlanta native was a former Olympian, sure, but tonight, a massive underdog. Experts said he was outmatched and outclassed, but what they didn't know was that Vernon had been working his whole life for this moment. From the opening bell, he dominated. Vernon was strong, precise, and relentless. And by the time the final bell rang, Shane Mosley, a man thought unbeatable, had been thoroughly beaten. And just like that, a new legend was born.
The undefeated true welterweight champion of the world, Vernon Forrest!
Yeah, it was the kind of night that every fighter dreams of. The absolute highest of highs. Unfortunately, life, well, it has a way of changing the script. And what followed next, well, it was something that no one saw coming. This is the story of Vernon Forrest, a man who conquered the world and, unfortunately, evilness took him from it. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Lou2Sick back with another combat crime biography for you. This is the tale of Vernon Forrest. This one I was actually alive for. That fight you just saw in the opening, well, that lives in my mind basically daily. Shane Mosley, I was a huge fan for, and after that night, well, I was a fan of Vernon Forrest as well. And what would happen after this? Well, he'd go on to fight a long career, fighting big names, fighting in some big ass wars, basically becoming a great in his own right. Unfortunately, that got all torn down in a very, very dark way. I'm about to get into it, but first, if you haven't, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, press like on the video, and get it popping in the algorithm. Comment below, let me know what your thoughts are on the video. If you have any recommendations to any future videos, I've been loving the comments, I've been loving the engagement. We gotta keep it going. Yeah, we're creating a little community here, y'all. One based solely on the thing we love most, and that's
Violence.
I'm Lou2Sick. Keep your hands up. All right, Vernon Forrest was a kid from Augusta, Georgia, who first picked up a pair of boxing gloves at 9 years old. Yeah, 9. Instantly, he was a success, and by the time he was done playing around in the amateur ring, he had a ridiculous 225 wins to his name. The guy was a machine, having won a silver medal at the World Amateur Championships in 1991. Who did he lose to? Well, another legend, Costa Tszyu. Yeah, Vernon is not just swinging fists, but he's also hitting the books too. He then goes on to do something extraordinary. He graduates high school. He's the first in his family, actually, to graduate high school. Then he goes on to Northern Michigan University, where he majors in business administration. He's doing all this while training with the U.S. national team. Talk about having a lot on your plate. Yeah, fast forward to 1992 and the Barcelona Olympics are coming up. Vernon is able to fight his way through trials, punching his ticket to Team USA. It looked like he was set up for glory. He even entered the Olympic field as the gold medal favorite. Yeah, and then life gets in the way. Out of nowhere, inside the Olympic Village, Vernon, well, he contracts food poisoning. Yeah, the dude goes into his opening match wrecked and loses to a guy he beat before. It's tough, it was brutal, but did Vernon sulk? No. He heads back home to Augusta and then recalibrates himself, moving to Vegas, and then turns pro by the end of the year. And early on, you're already seeing that Vernon, well, our dude has a good head on his shoulder. He's not only shown heart, he's not only shown grit, but he's shown some brains as well. And it's the reason for his success in the amateur ranks. It will also be the reason for his success in the pros. Vernon Forrest turned pro in 1992, and right out of the gate, he's knocking out guys left and right. 13 stoppages in his first 15 fights. By 2001, he's in Madison Square Garden dominating Raul Frank to win his first major title. Then, it's Shane Mosley. 6 months later, he does it again. At this point, Vernon is truly at the top of the world, holding the WBC and Ring Magazine welterweight championships. And he wasn't just a champion, no. Vernon was a philanthropist.
What Forrest does outside the ring can only be seen as the complete opposite of what he does in the ring.
He had founded a group called Destiny's Child. It was a nonprofit meant for people with disabilities. He taught them skills, brought them to sit ringside at even some of his fights. He wasn't just a boxer. This was a guy who made his corner of the world a little better.
All of them got, mental issues. So one of them, he said, "This is how you do it," and swung it in my face. I'm not teaching nobody no more people how to box around here.
Destiny's Child was begun by Forrest and his partners in 1997 after they had volunteered at another similar agency.
I said, I think y'all can do better than what y'all doing. And they said, well, if you think you can do better, then do it yourself.
Yeah, and that's why not only what happens next not only shook the city of Atlanta, the state of Georgia, but the boxing world as a whole. Alright, so at this point the year is 2009. Vernon has a tremendous record of 41 wins and 3 losses. Despite some losses and bouts of injury, Vernon is still a big name in the sport, fighting in main events. He's just coming off a win against the Latin Snake, Sergio Mora. Now you might know Sergio, he's an announcer for Showtime Boxing. Well, these guys, they had just fought in 2 absolute wars and had split each of them. So they were negotiating for a trilogy that I wanted to see, the world wanted to see. Unfortunately, we'd never get. That's because on a seemingly ordinary summer night, July 25th, 2009, Atlanta police would roll up to a scene that would make anyone's stomach turn. There's a man down, and it's bad. But this case is especially bad. You see, lying there in the middle of the street, left for dead, is none other than Vernon Forrest. Yeah, the cops even said when they approached the scene and saw the victim, they knew it immediately. They were shocked themselves. So really, the question now goes to, how did this happen? How does someone like Vernon Forrest end up gunned down in the middle of the Atlanta streets? Well, according to police, Forrest had been at a gas station inflating his tires when a guy with a gun tried to rob him. Vernon would give up his chain and a gold ring, but it wouldn't end there. Does Forrest back down? No. Instead, he grabs a gun inside his car and chases the guy. Now, it's important to note for story purposes that Forrest, well, he had his 11-year-old godson in the car with him. He ends up chasing the suspect and completely leaving his godson behind. Now, Vernon would chase this man into an apartment complex where he would lose him. Unbeknownst to him, though, there was a far worse danger lurking in the shadows. Out of nowhere, shots are fired. Police are then called, and it's all she wrote.
A Georgia native and boxing champion died in the streets of southwest Atlanta last night.
Boxing champion Vernon Forrest was shot and killed in an attempted carjacking in northwest Atlanta last night.
Yeah, it's tragic, but then quickly things get to downright wild. Police are scrambling. They're trying to find a reason for this killing. Was it a just outright random robbery, or was it something way more sinister? Then something happens and they get a little break. Surveillance footage from a nearby apartment complex blows the case wide open. A suspect pops up on camera, the police splash his face across the media, tips come flooding in, and guess what? One guy, Demario Ware, he gets turned in by his grandma. Yeah, and Demario Ware quickly cracks under pressure. What he ends up telling police is they were all at the gas station, him and 2 other friends. They saw Forrest and they didn't even know who he was. They just saw him as an easy lick, considering the nice car, the necklace, the watch. So that's when they decided to rob him. Ware says Forrest fought back, and that's when everything spiraled out of control. But he says he wasn't the shooter. So who was? Unfortunately, he only had the nicknames for the 2 other guys he was with. Thanks to the magnitude of the case, that's all the police needed. Enter Jaquante Cruz, the getaway driver, and Charmin twin Sinkfield, the alleged triggerman. And here's where it gets really stupid. Yeah, so these guys get arrested and it's pretty much a done case at this point. Charmin Sinkfield, the alleged gunman, well, he starts talking and he tells police that he shot Forrest because he was disrespected. And get this, apparently he was disrespected because Charmin decided to follow Vernon when he chased DeMario, and he had an issue with Vernon leaving his godson in the car. Vernon didn't even know who he was and just turned around and walked away from him. That was enough to end his life. Make it make sense. Vernon Forrest was a guy trying to protect his stuff, and he ends up losing his life over some nonsense. And just like that, it's over. A champion's story is cut short by absolute senselessness. In the end, all three were given life sentences. But let's be real. Does all that bring back the man who gave so much to his community? Forrest's loss is a gut punch, a senseless loss of someone who deserves so much better. Vernon would be laid to rest on August 3rd, 2009. Over 1,000 people would attend his funeral, including boxing greats like Evander Holyfield, Antonio Tarver, and more. This isn't just a crime story, guys. This is a story about what happens when violence and ego collide into someone who's just living his life the right way. Vernon Forrest wasn't just a fighter, he was a beacon of hope for his community. And now that community has nothing. And this gets to the true reason why I'm making this video. You see, Vernon Forrest not only was a legend in the ring, but outside the ring, guys. I mean, the dude was a 4-time world champion. And even to this day, my man hasn't been inducted into the Hall of Fame. So I ask you guys, I ask all of us, our little community, to come together and try to get my man inducted into the Hall of Fame. Do what we gotta do. Let's reach out to the International Boxing Writers Association, reach out to the Boxing Hall of Fame, do whatever we gotta do to get him into the hall, because hey, my man deserves that at least. It's your boy Lou Too Sick. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys like it. Comment below, let me know what you think. Any recommendations going forward, any tips, stay tuned because we got so much more coming. I appreciate your input. I appreciate your engagement. Thank you so much. Always keep those hands up, baby.